The night air was thick with the scent of roses. Not the kind that perfume a lover's embrace, but the kind that sat wilting on cold gravestones, their petals curling inward like rotting flesh. The city buzzed with lovers clinking champagne glasses, exchanging chocolate-dipped promises they would never keep. But in apartment 8B, love had taken a different turn. Clara sat on the edge of the king-sized bed, her manicured nails tapping against the crystal rim of a half-filled wine glass. Across from her, Marcus stood near the candlelit table, slicing through a filet mignon with surgical precision. His lips curled into a knowing smile. "Valentine should be special, babe," he murmured, pushing a bite into his mouth. "Why do you look like you've seen a ghost?" She swallowed, gripping the stem of her glass like a lifeline. She had seen the texts, the midnight calls, the smeared lipstick on his collar that wasn't hers. But tonight wasn't about confrontation. It was about something else entirely. A small vial rested in her silk robe pocket. Tiny, almost innocent looking, but its contents were anything but. A cocktail of chemicals, invisible to the naked eye, tasteless as a lie, lethal as a betrayal. Marcus lifted his glass, grinning. "To us, she replied. He took a slow sip, licking his lips afterward. He had no idea. The room darkened. The candles flickered erratically, casting grotesque shadows against the walls. Marcus wiped his forehead, a single bead of sweat trailing down his temple. His chest rose and fell faster. His fork clattered to the plate. His pupils dilated, his breath hitched. He gripped the table edge, fingers twitching as though trying to seize control of his body. His voice cracked. "Yes?" His throat convulsed. His face contorted into a sickening grimace as the muscles in his body locked into a grotesque stiffness. He tried to stand, but his legs betrayed him, buckling beneath his weight. The chair toppled. His body convulsed against the hardwood floor. His lips turned a shade of blue, his gasps gurgling wetly. The poison was working, just as research had promised. Every muscle in his body would contract until his lungs forgot how to breathe. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" she whispered, crouching beside him. "You took everything from me." His eyes were wide, pleading, but it was too late. His last breath shuddered from his lips. His body stilled, and the silence that followed was deafening. The apartment was eerily quiet. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the rhythmic ticking of the antique clock on the wall, these were the only sounds that remained. Standing over Marcus's lifeless body, there was no relief, no euphoria, only the suffocating weight of what had been done. The plan had been meticulous. The research, the execution, the alibi, everything was perfect. Or so it seemed. Then came the knock. A slow, deliberate knock at the door. Breath hitched. No one was supposed to come. Not tonight. Hands wiped clean on the hem of a robe. Careful steps over Marcus's body, avoiding footprints in the growing pool of crimson beneath his head. When the door cracked open, a heart nearly stopped. Detective Harris stood on the threshold, steel-gray eyes peering into the apartment. "Miss Vaughn," he greeted, tone smooth yet firm, like a noose tightening around a throat. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by." A forced smile. "Detective, this is a surprise." His gaze flicked past, scanning the dimly lit apartment. "Valentine's plans?" A pulse pounded. The scent of death was in the air. Could he smell it? "Just a quiet night in," was the reply, stepping forward slightly, angling to block his view. "Would you like some wine?" Harris smiled. "I'd love some." A hesitation. His gaze darkened. He knew. And in that moment it was understood. This wasn't over. Not yet. The wine poured smoothly, but inside, nerves clawed at composure. Harris leaned against the counter, eyes never leaving her face. "I have to say, you seem tense," he mused, swirling his glass lazily. Not the usual glow of a woman in love on Valentine's night. A chuckle, forced. "Long day at work, detective. You know how it is." Harris took a sip, savoring the taste, before setting the glass down carefully. "You know, I got a report earlier. A neighbor heard some strange noises from this apartment. A thud, a crash, a scream, a breath hitched." "Oh?" "Must be mistaken." A slow nod, then a hand slipping into his pocket, pulling out a handkerchief. "Mind if I take a quick look around?" Casual tone, but the weight behind his words was anything but. A swallow. "Actually, it's late. Maybe another time." A smirk, somewhere between amusement and warning. "Of course. Another time?" But as he turned, his gaze flicked downward to a single crimson footprint smeared against the white tile. A pregnant silence filled the air. Harris slowly looked up, his jaw tightening, and in that instant the truth hung thick. A lunge. The wine glass shattered mid-swing, but Harris was faster. A wrist caught, twisted back until a cry of pain escaped. The handcuffs were cold, snapping shut before resistance could even begin. "Clara Vaughn, you're under arrest for the murder of Marcus Black," Harris murmured. "Anything you say." The world spun. The room darkened. And as Marcus's lifeless body was passed by, a single truth settled in. Love never dies, but secrets do.